I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist with degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy, and a national certification in integrative mental health. In this video, I'm not looking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Hey, everybody. It is a Monday today on Sunday. If you would have seen what was going on here, sat down at my desk. I don't know if you guys have had this kind of day. I sat down at my desk. I had my water. Finally, I remembered my water. I thought, we're so good. I remember my water. Sit down at the desk, hit the desk. The water goes flying. It's like all over my computer, the microphone, my notes, my entire notebook full of Post-it notes. Ink is running. I'm freaking out. It's 1 minute until I need to start this thing, right? I'm massively cleaning up. I'm wiping things up as quick as possible. I'm refilling my water as quick as possible. I get the intro video started. I sat down. The dogs start freaking out, barking at the front door. And not the barking of, one of my favorite people has arrived, but barking as in there's an issue. So I'm looking out the window. The intro's playing. I've only got a certain amount of time. And I'm looking out the window. I'm doing all that. I see nothing. Of course, somebody's mowing, right? Because it's Sunday and people always want to mow while I'm doing a show. But they won't stop barking. And so I have to, run out into the living room, open the door, show them that I'm looking, I'm checking, everything's cool, tell them it's fine, and run and get back here in time to be like, hi. It was chaos in this room just a couple of minutes ago. So I don't know if you guys have had days like that. Man, this is when we're like, and we breathe in and we breathe out. And I feel myself breathing in and I feel myself breathing out. Experience myself breathing in and I experience myself breathing out. Okay. And we let it go. Oh my gosh. And I always say when stuff like that happens, it's because the universe wanted you to get it all out of the way before the bigger thing, right? Like before it would be an actual problem. Because could you imagine? I'm on live. I spill my water. The dogs are barking. I'm having to look out the window. The ink on all my notes is running. And it would be very entertaining for you guys. It'd be a little panic inducing for me. All right. We're ready to start. By the way, none of that has anything to do with falling for the same old tricks. So let's say hello to some people. Hi, Adric. He's number 1. Roger calls that the Highlander position. We need to have a name for the first one who comes in on Maggie's Sunday shows. You guys come up with a name. My comment section is always so amazing that you guys got a name. Okay, but Adric's in that position, whatever that name is. Nina is in here. Hi, thank you for being here, favorite auntie. Leon is here. Hi, Leon. He says the title. We shall see. I don't know if you're thinking about the title, what occurred to me later. So possibly, but we're not getting into that part. Indigo Flow is in here. Hi, Indigo. Adrix says, let's hear it for the dancing Maggies. You need that like 1920s Hollywood Atlantean, or maybe even like a Frank Sinatra type accent, something like that. I need that at the end of my at the end of my intro. Okay. Auntie says you got this. Yep, I got it together. Whew. Okay. Brasilia Shelton says, hi, Maggie. Hi to you. Thank you for being here. Hopefully I can call you Shelton because saying that beginning part, I'm probably butchering it. Adrix says, yeah, I need that. Lots of breathing, right? Did you guys know that the reason why people tell you to breathe, why therapists tell you to breathe, why breathing exercise is important, not just, from a metaphysical perspective, but because oxygen itself has sedating qualities in it for the human. So when you're given like oxygen at the hospital, it's a little pure oxygen, it actually sedates you a little bit. So increasing your oxygen intake actually has some sedating qualities. All right, Leon says, you fell for the same trick. The dogs are trying to escape and run around the neighborhood. If you only knew, like one of them, she's not about escape. If she gets out of the yard, she comes around to the front porch and she's like, I need to go back in, Ma. Right? Like it's hot out here. The other one, she takes off running, keeps looking back like, are you following me? Are you watching? Look, I'm going to run out in front of a car. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. She's a little turkey. Adrix says there could only be one, the Highlander. Right. But you're the Highlander on Rogers. So you need a different, maybe we call you Morpheus on my channel. Something like that. The one who leads. Okay. Hi, Cynical Optimist. Thank you for being here. Peace to you as well. Nick Morrison, you're not late. We haven't even really started. I'm having like chaos over here. We haven't even got going. You are so good. And plus, you're never late. You're there when you're there. Yeah. Oh, Shelton says, because I'm so busy, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here too. Yeah. Cynical says, endorphins. That's what you need, the oxygen. Get the endorphins. Man, what a day. It's been for a Sunday. Shouldn't a Sunday be chill? Not very nice. Unless you're Leon, who has to be at work. So get plenty of water in. Nick says, love that. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about falling for the same old tricks, which is pretty much the psychology of conformity. Have you guys ever noticed, can we talk about nonconformists for a second? If you think like the most recent flavor of nonconformist that I can think of was like the goth movement. And there, people were like, because we're nonconformists, I don't conform to society and to, these standards, what it means to be a man, what it means to be this, what it means, and so I'm just flying in the face of that. But did you notice they all look, dress, and talk exactly alike? They conform to each other, right? It's almost like as humans, we can't get away from conforming in some way, right? Leon says only 6 more hours. Yay! Sweet. Okay. So to truly be a nonconformist, you would have to be antisocial to be like the purest version of a nonconformist, but you would have to value being a nonconformist, right? To go all the way in that direction. And even people who are antisocial have a lot of similar qualities, which is how we can label them as antisocial. So you can't really get away from conforming to certain things. And at the end of the day, if it's something that you value and it's part of your character and it's stuff that you believe in individually, then conforming to that is not a problem, right? It shouldn't be a negative thing to say, that you conform to certain things. Again, we need to take negative and positive connotation out of words sometimes because societally we'll be told, this is a bad thing or this is a good thing. And we really just need to look at the word and what it means intrinsically and what it does for us, right? Indigo says nonconformist, but they all look alike. They conform to each other, right? The nonconformist conformist. Yeah, we're all conforming to nonconformity. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Leon said Gothics all do that, just like hippies, then assimilate to normal society and buy a house eventually. Yeah, there were hippies that ended up becoming yuppies, and then there were hippies that always stayed hippies, right, Auntie? Right. All right. So, did you guys know? I looked up stats on, falling for things, right? Did you know 1 out of 4 people? So that is a huge number. 1 out of 4 people fall for a simple "you've won a prize" scam. I mean, 1 out of 4 fall for that email, that text, whatever, "You've won a prize, click here," kind of thing. 1 out of 4. With scams being so common, a lot of us are dealing with them regularly. Sometimes we don't even realize it. We're just swiping, moving, ignoring, deleting, right? Without even realizing it. But I think about sometimes if you talk about scams and falling for scams, a lot of times at places of business, they have to get after their people about phishing emails, right? And clicking phishing emails, answering phishing emails, opening attachments, you know, for emails that are trying to scam you to get into your business's records and system. So, I mean, Facebook, social media, but Facebook's terrible about how many pages are kind of hacked. And then they're sending messenger messages or doing certain things. That's phishing, right? And people fall for it, you know? Yeah, Shelton says 1 out of 4. Yeah, 1 out of 4. That's 25% of people. That's like millions. This is why they don't quit doing it, right? Their numbers are good. We're like, man, this is so obvious. Nobody falls for this. And then 25% of people do fall for it. They're not going to stop. It's prosperous. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about some psychological tricks that influence our decisions, right? About conformity and being scammed and how they use our specific needs and biases for their scams to work, which all has to do with conforming to certain things, right? So, from something that's like a limited time offer, or there's only 2 left that, gets you to splurge on something, or the email scams, right? That trick you into giving out your personal info, right? There's science behind it, it's psychological manipulation, happens all the time. Okay. So again, I have my notes down here for anybody who's new, replay gang, other people who are watching. I always check my notes to make sure I'm staying on track. My wet notes right now. Anyway, so first of all, our brains unfortunately aren't always great at making rational decisions, right? So, number one, sometimes we're kind of on autopilot, as rational as we think that we may be and logical and things like that. A lot of the stuff that we do is very autopilot. That's why humans like routine and repetition and patterns and schedules and things like that, because it takes so much mental energy for anything that's novel or spontaneous. We have to use mental energy. So we need most of the doldrum type things, just the basic everyday stuff that we just do regularly. We need it to be in a regular routine, a regular pattern, so that we can do a lot of it on autopilot. Driving can be one of those things. After you've driven, you've known how to drive a car and you drive every day for 10 years, 20 years, then there are times you'll get in the car to go somewhere and then you're there and you're like, I don't remember the whole drive. Or one of the things that I do is um, to get to anywhere necessary, I have to go in one direction out of town, right? If I go the other direction, I'm going into the country, so I'm not really going to go that way most all of the time, right? I'm always going to go this specific direction. Well, the difficulty being almost every day I'm driving to work. So there are times I'm kind of on autopilot and I go to drive to a specific place and I notice that, oh my gosh, I took that turn like I was going to work, because I kind of am on autopilot. And it's like, oh, you're on autopilot. We're driving to work. Okay. Yeah. Indigo Flow says I sometimes drive on autopilot. Leon says electric companies in Texas. Leon. Yeah. So not only do we have autopilot sometimes where we're just doing things without rationally thinking about every little thing that we do, which would be crazy making. The other thing is that we have psychological vulnerabilities. So like cognitive biases, emotional triggers, these things make us like an easy mark, you know? So it's like there's a couple places where you put something in your cart and there's a timer. Or a great place that they do this is when you're buying concert tickets and you're trying to get in, you're trying to get the tickets, you know that the tickets are going to get sold out. You found the seats that you want, and you're trying to put everything in and you're trying to get your credit card in, you're trying to get, because you want the concert tickets, and there's a timer and it's just ticking down, ticking down, ticking down. You better hurry, you better hurry, you better hurry, you better like, I'm hurry, you know. And then, come to somebody else comes and goes, oh, well, I got tickets, $70 cheaper over here. If you just scroll down to the bottom and it had this thing and you could take, but I'm rushed. I feel like I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. That's the psychological manipulation, or why you're likely to trust something because it looks familiar. That's something we all fall for. If there's something that looks familiar, we're like, oh, it's safe, it's good, it's great, it's whatever, So I wanted to break down some of the common tricks and the psychology behind them. Okay. Okay. Cynical says, I drive on autopilot when I start recognizing familiar landmarks. Yeah. It's like at some point, some part of the back of your mind is like, oh, we must be going here. We're going to this store. And then it just starts, you just start going. Okay. All right. So the first one I want to talk about is scarcity principle, right? Not to be confused with people who say things like, you're thinking from a lack mindset. That's another one of those like weaponized and bastardized statements that I don't like. You guys ever think about when people say, well, you're thinking about this with a lack mindset? Well, can I be real? I wouldn't have asked for the thing if I didn't already know that I lacked it. Like, I have to lack it to want it. I have to lack it to know that I don't have it. Can we just use logic for a second? Like, I wouldn't have asked for it if I didn't lack it. So, this is the scarcity principle, which is a bit different. Okay. So the scarcity principle is like there's only 3 left in stock. You better buy now. Timu is really good at that one. Or like the sale ends in 2 hours. And after that, everything goes back to the regular price, right? These like sales tactics. This is our FOMO. We don't want to miss out. We don't want to not be able to get the thing because there's only 3 left. Or like, this is in 15 people's carts. Whoever hits buy now gets it. We don't want to not get the thing, or we don't want to miss the sale, right? We don't want to miss out on this. That's the scarcity principle, the FOMO, right? Like, I'm going to miss it. I don't want to miss it. So when our brains think something is scarce, then our brain assumes it's more valuable somehow. Like all of a sudden, when a whole bunch of other people are going to get it, then and now I want it more. Conformity. Okay. Well, everybody else is going to get the black and gold limited edition Air Force Ones with the green tassels. I don't know, guys. Please don't. Please don't come after me for that. I'm literally imagining these shoes. Okay. Anyway, everybody else is going to have them, and there's only 3 left, and I need to get them, or I can afford it right now because of the sale, but it's getting ready to end, so I better hurry. I got to drop everything. I got to stop everything. I got to give you my credit card information because now it's so valuable. If I'm going to miss it and other people get it, I got to have it. So it's a scarcity tactic that they play on. Hi, Adrian. Thank you for being here. He says the same way that diamonds are controlled so that the price stays high. They are actually not rare. Yeah, it's a crystal. And crystals, Anthea and I were talking about going out of state to a state that's close where you can just the selenite is there just naturally, and you can just go get you some. Or like one time when I was hiking on a specific mountain in Colorado, not that long ago, last year, there's just big chunks of crystals just sort of working their way out of the dirt, and you can just get one if you. Now I'm hiking. I don't need big chunks, right? But I got some fist-sized ones, 4 or 5. Had them in my, the pants pockets, making my workout a little harder. Right? But it's made from coal. It's the pressure of coal. Crystals are all made in different ways. Moldavite is made from lightning striking lava. They're all made in different ways, but they're naturally occurring. But, we want to make money on them. Then we make them special and we make them rare, right? Gold is the same way, right? The way. Yeah. Leon says getting a leftover woman or man is the best. I knew he was going to say something about the same old tricks. Leon says, I like the crystals on a rock with different colors. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, but that was totally right, Adrian. That is the scarcity principle, like to control the market, to make people pay more, do more, and then you put it on sale. Oh, and then they're like, oh, now I didn't wake up this morning thinking I needed a diamond necklace. I mean, maybe I did, but I didn't. I didn't wake up this morning thinking I needed a diamond necklace, but I'm just scrolling through the internet and this thing is on sale for 2 hours, and there's the countdown. The clock is ticking, and it's 70% off, and there's only 9 of them, and it's in 15 people's carts. Well, now I kind of want it. but I wasn't going to spend any money today. Okay. People that call that naivete, you're naive, but think about the 1 in 4, right? 1 in 4. This doesn't mean that if you fall for something or you're scammed. I was scammed once. It was terrible. Anyway, it doesn't mean if you fall for these things, well, you're an idiot. You're an easy mark. You're stupid. You're naive. You're gullible. All those words that they come up with. They wouldn't do these things if they didn't work. Okay. So if they do jump out at you like flashing red lights, like you can tell this scam, that's a scam, that's a scam, or that's a sales trick, good for you. It doesn't for everybody, and just, be glad, be grateful about that. I'm grateful too. And I'm also grateful for how the phones now, when these numbers call, you'll get the scam likely, and you're like, yes, I don't have to answer that. It's great. Okay. So that's the first one. The second one I want to go over is the familiarity bias, right? Where if something seems familiar, right? So it's like you get an email and it's from Amazon, and you get emails from Amazon, things come from Amazon, and it says there's a problem with your order. And you're like, oh yeah, I know Amazon. And you click it open without really paying attention to the details, but because it's familiar, it's trustworthy. Or you get an email that looks like it's from your boss, or you get a messenger message from your dad or your mom, your brother or your sister. You're going to open it like it's familiar. Oh, I know them. I know that, right? That's familiarity bias. So when we open those things, sometimes we find out it's a scam, right? Oh, they've been hacked. There was one that was going around not that long ago where people's Facebook would get hacked, and they would post up under that person's profile, like, rest in peace, and I never thought that could happen. I'm devastated. And then it had like a link that said something about funeral or mortuary or something like that. And so many people were like, oh my God, who died? What happened? Who was it? What was the thing? And people are just clicking and clicking and clicking, and it was a scam. So that's like playing on familiarity, unfortunately. Leanne says, I annoy the wife because I talk to the phone scammers and use a deep country voice and give them fake credit card numbers and names. I mean, you're just having fun. You're just having fun, right? But we tend to trust what looks familiar. So scammers are always exploiting this, right? They will mimic brands, they'll mimic people, they mimic things that we know and we rely on. So we have to be careful with that. Another one is the reciprocity trap. So reciprocity is the idea that if somebody gives you something, you're compelled to give something in return. Okay. So like the example that I have here is ever signed up for a free trial and then you end up paying for months without realizing it. Like you were primed to feel like you owed something back, even if the gift was a catch. Or like they used to, these like different charities would send in the mail, they would send you like a little gift and then ask for a donation. Like it could be a little post-it note with your name on it, or like return address labels, or a book of stickers, or a little keychain, or they put some little gift in there and then ask you for a donation. And then because people are kind and polite and whatnot, they feel like they need to give something for the little gift that they got sent. That's part of that reciprocity trap. Like, I'm going to give you something without your permission and now pay me. Doesn't seem quite fair. And it's not like if it's return address labels or whatever, it's not like you can send it back and be like, I didn't want this, because it's got your name and address on it. So that's something to watch for, the reciprocity trap. Nina says condos. Tell me what you mean about condos. I think I know what you mean, but I want to make sure. Okay. Another one is social proof. Okay. So it's like that when you see thousands of happy customers, bought something, we think it's a good idea, right? Or on social media, everybody's got the thing, the new neat thing, and then we want it, right? Like everybody has the black and gold Air Force Ones with the green tassel. Somebody needs to make that now, by the way. Just so we can see. Like I need like a AI to make the coolest Air Force Ones that are black and gold with a green tassel on them somehow. Yeah, timeshares. Yes. Okay. Okay. That's what I thought you were talking about. So I wanted to make sure. Yeah, timeshares. Timeshares. Total scam. Pyramid schemes are scams as well. Right. Hi, Spain Man. Thanks for being here. The difficulty with the social proof one is that it's a cognitive shortcut. It's like, oh, if everybody else likes it, I'll like it. It's where we kind of use the actions of other people to guide our actions. And we are primed for that because as humans, we can learn through watching others. We don't have to experience that the stove is hot to not touch the stove if we see somebody else touch the stove and say, ow, and then they have a burn, right? We can learn through it being modeled for us. So then we're kind of at risk of inadvertently conforming, right? For the social proof, right? So conformity, we're primed for that. Nina says, old lady brain. No, look how many people we knew what you were talking about. I just wanted to make sure. Spain Man says green tasseled black Air Force One energy. And they have a little shoe over here, up here in the corner somewhere. Indigo Flow says, if I feel like too many people like something, I lose interest. Yeah, that's another thing too, where maybe you want to be a little bit different. There are some things where it's like, no, everybody. There's way too many people. You kind of, it's the opposite of the scarcity, right? So these people have to find the balance to where the conformity still feels like non-conformity. It still feels like individuality. They have to find that sweet spot where conformity feels like individuality. Okay. So the same psychological principles that make us vulnerable to scams also play a role in how we fall for like more societal issues, like political rhetoric, political promises. We are in that time right now. And I can't stand this because anytime you hear politicians talk, they're making all these promises and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and they never, hear me, never follow through. And then you will have ride or die political groupies who give them all sorts of excuses for why they didn't follow through on their promise, even though they never said why they didn't. It's part of like the show, the political theater, right? But it's the same psychological principles of falling for a scam where we fall for political promises and rhetoric. Okay. So let's see. Lord Maggie was hanging out with us a little too much that day. No, Maggie's comments are making me laugh. Indigo, I don't even remember what I said, Leon. I'm sorry. I don't remember from hour to hour, let alone moment to moment. But I remember you saying something about I've been hanging out with you guys too much. Indigo says, when politicians promise what they're going to do, does anybody ever ask how? And even if somebody does, let's say a news reporter says, well, how are you going to do that? Or they're on a debate. How are you going to do that? And then they say, well, I'm going to do this and this and this. That's just 14 more things that they're not going to do, right? If anybody ever holds them to the fire, well, this thing happened and that thing happened. And, or the ride or die political groupies will be like, well, they were only a vice president. They can't do anything. Sorry. Or, he was trying to drain the swamp. There's too many political people in there against him. He can only do so much. And that's not what he meant to say. That's not what she meant to say. What he meant was this. What she meant was that. They don't even have to stick up for themselves or answer for the crap that they say. It's all the ride or die political groupies that just fight it out in the street because a politician, some incumbent, somebody lied their A off to get votes, right? So these are the same psychological principles. So for cognitive biases, okay? Politicians exploit biases like confirmation bias, okay? This is part of a cognitive bias. So confirmation bias. People favor information that aligns with their existing beliefs. So if you know what the biases are of your base, all you have to do is confirm their fears, confirm their biases, and then they will believe you. You don't have to confirm it with proof or whatever. I'm saying just say, oh, you think this thing? That's totally happening. It's happening. You are so right. It's happening. I don't tell you the truth, right? So for example, if a politician promises something that aligns with voters' values or fears, voters are more likely to accept it without critically examining the feasibility of the promise. It's just the promise, right? We accept it. Oh, they're going to do this and they're going to do that because they said it. Right? Because it feels good. Oh, it just feels so delicious if we have some political candidate who, oh, they see me. They know who I am. They know what I want. They're going to do all these things that are all about the things that I have, They're going to be tough on crime because I believe in locking everybody up, right? Bunch of sinners. So this susceptibility to empty promises is just because it feels right. It feels delicious. I love it. It's very performative. You're me. You're just like me. We can form together as a group. Yeah. Adric says, I believe any politician born in the middle class. Just saying. Who's the one? JD Vance was supposedly born into poverty. I don't know. I don't know if that makes him better or worse, but he relies heavily on that. And I think that he's kind of pandering to people who are in poverty, making them think all kinds of things about him. Okay. Another one is authority bias. So we are wired to trust figures of authority. There's been lots of studies about this. One that was really creepy that was done prior to heavier standards on human experimentation and psychology. And I'm blanking on the name, but so they would bring people in and the head of the study would hook one person up to a machine. It's like around their heads, their arms, different things, wires hooked to a machine. And then the other person is the questioner. And so they ask questions of the answerer, the person who's wired up to the machine. And if they get it wrong, they hit a button and it gives them a little zap, gives them a little jolt. And as it goes on, like with each level, you have to up the amount of jolt, the amount of electricity that you're zapping them with. And it would get so bad. People would be like, stop, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. This is crazy. This hurts a lot. Like, this is bad. And, then the person asking the questions would, look to the people who are putting on the research, and they're like, no, keep going. So they would keep going, and then, the people would be like yelling because it hurts so bad. Like they're being shocked. And the people asking the questions would be like, uh, is you, what do you want me to do here? Like this person's in a lot of pain. And then they'd be like, keep going. So they keep going. And then it'll get to the point where the person's not even answering the questions anymore. Like they're making no noise. You can barely hear them breathing. So then the asker is like, this is a problem. And they're like, nope, keep going. And so the people would keep asking questions, and all people, by the way. And then come to find out at the end of the experiment that the experiment was not about, being able to answer questions, um, if there's like punishment attached to it or something. That's what they thought they were doing, but it was about acquiescing to authority. And everybody did acquiesce to authority. The people who were being shocked were actually part of the experiment. Nobody was being shocked at all. There was no shock, but the people who were asking the questions didn't know that. And it actually, that thing, the reason why we ended up with more rules about human experimentation is because all of the question askers ended up in a lot of mental distress about what they had done. They needed therapy, they needed treatment. The people who ran the experiment had to pay for long-term mental health treatment for the people that they effed up through this experiment. So they made new rules. But that is that authority bias. Leon says J.D. Vance was born in West Virginia. Yeah. Hi, Extended Clips. Thanks for being here. So we are wired to trust authority. I mean, we are wired for a hierarchical type system, where we are primates in that way. We like order, and so and we can't really have chaos. So there's always going to be leaders of some sort or authority of some sort, and we're kind of wired towards that. The difficulty is a lot of authority figures don't deserve our trust, but we kind of blindly give it. Politicians, like, because of their position, they manipulate that bias to get people to believe in their rhetoric. They don't say things like, well, when I'm elected, I'm going to, maybe if they're running for the school board, but they don't say like, well, when I'm elected, they'll say, when I'm the 47th president of the United States. They make sure that you understand the nature of the position that they will hold and that they're running for. And this is an authority. This is the highest office. This is, there's a lot of responsibility there, and, blah, blah, blah. So, and we kind of perceive when a leader says something confidently, we just accept it. Like we are wired to accept it at face value rather than question it. So the people who do question it is sort of like, the people who have had a little bit of a transcendence or an awakening, or they've been burned before. Like there's been some lesson somewhere to make them start questioning those things. But how we're wired, sorry, doggy, we are wired to acquiesce to authority. Okay. Adric says middle class was mocking an unnamed politician. Just wanted to clear my reputation. Yes, Adric, we will not blame you for that. All right. Just like in the sales scams of scarcity, this also plays into politics as well. Scarcity and urgency, right? Both of those, the limited time and there's only 2 left, right? So scammers kind of do that. Salespeople can kind of, push us into a more hasty decision. Politicians use crises, either real, exaggerated, or imagined. It's always some fear-based thing, isn't it? Well, if you vote him into office, all the bad things are going to happen, right? Everybody's head's going to turn into balloons, and we're all going to marry Beatles, and it's like they just come up with the wildest stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's urgency, it's a crisis, right? Like, somebody told me the other day, well, we have to vote in this election for the sake of democracy. The fate of democracy, the future of democracy is in our hands. And I'm like, all the wealth in the world operates through the political system and federal government of the United States. Pretty sure whoever we vote into office is not going to destroy what the wealthy have created. They're not going to let it happen. They're not going to let it happen. I don't care which one it is. We've had idiots in office before. We've had Hollywood in office before. We've had all manner of people in office before, and it's a matter of life and death. Oh my God. It drives me up a wall. The system can run on its own. It can run on autopilot. It was created to do that. Okay. Yes, we are marrying Beatles. The car, not the bug. We are all marrying Volkswagens. But only if the other person gets into office. Otherwise, we're great and we can breathe. Leon says, I don't eat hot dogs, but I went to the park and snatched up ducks and called my grandmother and asked for a good recipe. Leon. Oh my gosh. Now we know Leon's in Ohio. Oh, Adrian says, yeah, then he's all for it. If we're marrying, yeah, Volkswagens. For sure. For sure. Yeah, it's a spectrum. It may not be a Beetle. It could be other Volkswagen cars. I kind of like the Volkswagen bus. I don't know what that one was called, that it was more like the camper with the pop-up top. That one's pretty cool. I do like those. So it's preferences. We all have preferences, right? Okay. Another one that we fall for. The social proof one, right? Like I was talking about the Facebook scammers. Hi, doggy. Social proof and bandwagon, right? We've heard of getting on the bandwagon, right? Politicians will claim massive support about something that the numbers don't justify. They'll be like, everybody said this, everybody is doing that. Americans want this. They claim tons of support. Everybody wanted it. Everybody told me. Everybody said, it's and there's no numbers, or they'll manipulate the answers to the polls to demonstrate that everyone is backing their campaign, right? It kind of taps into that bandwagon effect. Everybody wants to get on the bandwagon. People feel pressure to align with the majority, to conform, right? So that's the bandwagon. Or they're going to miss out being on the winning side. Well, maybe they've got a point. Now, if everybody thinks this, maybe they got a point, even though I didn't like it in the beginning. But all my friends are doing this, or my whole family's doing this, or all Americans are doing this, right? So politicians leverage that social proof and amplify, exaggerate support, even if the promise itself lacks substance, right? Like I could say right now, I got to come up with one. I got to be ready with my political promises, okay? Every American that I've talked to has said that all the murdering's got to stop. Just the rampant murdering that is happening. It's just every day there's a murder that people are talking about. Things are going on. Everybody's sick of the murders, and everybody wants police to get it under control. You got to increase the police departments. Do you see what I did? So first of all, every American I've ever talked to. How many Americans have I talked to? Had an actual conversation with in the course of my life? A few thousand. And that's because I'm a therapist. I talk to a lot of people, right? A few thousand. That's how many I've talked to, right? Is that a representative sample of the country? No. And then I conflated to, then I used a very generic thing that every human would be okay with, like no murders, you know? Serial killers might be okay with it, but they would want to do it themselves, right? Like they're applying for the job, but or maybe antisocial people wouldn't give a crap. But what I'm saying is like in general, nobody's like a super fan and out on the street picketing for murder. So then I used a really general thing. And then I conflated that people don't want this really bad thing with what I wanted to do, which is like increase the police department and increase funding to the police, right? Because everybody I talk to, which supposedly represents everybody in the whole wide world or country, doesn't like some vague, horrible thing. Now I get to do what I do. Hopefully you guys kind of followed that. I created a crisis. I pushed this urgency. I'm utilizing my authority bias because it's everybody I've talked to, and I've talked to everybody because I'm going to be the 47th president of these United States. I don't know why the Southern accent came out. Hopefully. I don't know where it came from. Okay. Adrian says, I've had 25 Volkswagens. We can take our pick. Yes. Rock on. Adrian says, ask any hunter how hard it is to capture wild game. I'm kind of with you on that, right? You need the tame game. All right. So our scarcity and urgency, right? It pushes us into hasty decisions. They use crises, real, imagined, exaggerated to get immediate actions. Like we need to act now or it's going to be too late. We need to get this in place. We need to codify this. We need to mark this into law. I need the house to move this through. And I would have done this thing and I would have saved you if the house would have pushed this through and put it on my desk. And it's all made up, right? Scarcity and urgency. Social proof and bandwagon. We talked about that, right? Emotion over logic. This is very, 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 very political, right? Emotion over logic. Much like scams, political rhetoric often bypasses rational thinking and directly appeals to emotions. Okay. Whew. Fear, hope, anger. We tend to have one political party that parties a lot. They pander and they party. And then we have the other one that catastrophizes and the whole world's going to hell and everything's blowing up and, a big hole gonna open up its maw and swallow us all. Like you have one political party that is Chicken Little and the other one is the ass waggers. It's emotion over logic, right? We're partying and we're playing music and we're shaking our butts and we're, having these performers come in and sing these songs and these people come in and it's like one big party and pander fest because it feels so good. It feels great. It's happy. It's joy. I think we recently heard that. Something about joy in the future. And then you have the other one that is Chicken Little. The sky is falling. Everything's, these people are going to take our jobs and these people are going to, rape your cars and steal your children. It's always a catastrophe. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. Right? That's emotion over logic. Okay. Yes, thank you, Adrian, for the ass waggers statement. That's how I'm now talking about the political parties. They are Chicken Little or the ass waggers. And I'm using the cuss word, guys. Okay. Leon says they have no job or education in these communities, and there's lawlessness. Criminals robbed Prada and Gucci. These criminals are selling these goods on the black market. We need more prisons and police. Yes. Yes. It's exactly like that. Adrian says, the president of joy. Yeah, she was talking about something like that. And then somebody had to point out to her that that was a NAZI group slogan. There's a certain committee council thing that they're Aryan under the NAZI party that talked about the something of joy. And some of the statements that she was saying was just like that. And so they had to point it out to her. And I haven't heard her say it since. So thankfully she stopped saying that. Okay. All right. So that's emotion over logic, right? Like political rhetoric bypasses rational thinking, directly appeals to emotions, fear, hope, anger. Emotions are processed quickly, right, by our brain. So we have system 1, which is like our intuition and automatic thinking. It's like our gut reaction. It's like that initial second, right? That's our system 1 thinking. Does that feel right or not? Intuitively, does it hit or not, right? And then system 2, which is our deliberate rational thinking, requires a bit more effort, right? Politicians exploit our system 1 by focusing on emotional narratives, right? They don't want to necessarily discuss the data, debate the data, or provide solid evidence or like rational arguments. They want people to be persuaded without utilizing critical thinking. Does it feel good? Does it feel, like I keep saying, it feels so delicious to have this political candidate? Does it feel great? Right? Here's the kicker. Okay, here's the kicker. The more we understand the psychological tricks, the less vulnerable we are. Like that is the point at the end of the day, right? Knowledge really is power. Once you know that you're being manipulated and why you're being manipulated, you start to spot the red flags and make smarter decisions. Okay. So like cognitive biases, this is one we use, right? Our brains use mental shortcuts. They're called heuristics. Okay. To make a quick decision. That is what makes us vulnerable. These quick decisions that too fast because it feels good and it feels right. Or, you know, when we get into social proof, there's something familiar about it. Okay. So it feels good. It feels right because this person reminds me of my father, my mother, my uncle, my aunt, my sister, my brother. Right. And so we get that immediate boom. This is us. Right. It convinces us we have to act now. We have to act fast. So we have to stop. Is the urgency real or manufactured? Is this a real emergency? Do I have to decide right this second? Can I stop and slow this down? Is the sky really falling? Is everything going to blow up? Or does the system love the system enough for the system to keep the system alive? I go more for the second one, right? If we could destroy the system, somebody would have already. Do you see what I'm saying? There are people who want to completely dismantle and revamp the system. I don't know whether they're right or wrong or otherwise. I'm not going to say whether I agree with them or not, but if it was easy, it would have already been done. Heck, in the civil rights era, they were trying to dismantle and reframe a lot of what was going on. And my God, was that hard. So is it really an emergency? Because the system's going to keep the system alive. It's an engine that runs itself. So slow down. We don't have to make a decision right this second just because it feels delicious. Okay. Give yourself time, rationalize the decision, reduce your vulnerability to manipulation. Okay. Extended clip says manipulative hysteria. Yeah. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Or I hear that, this person's reminds me of my sister. Okay. So then, if somebody else doesn't like him, they'll be like, what? You don't love your sister? Or this person reminds me of my uncle. And so if somebody else doesn't want to vote for him, what? You hate your uncle? You hate your father? It's very And it becomes an echo chamber where everybody's policing themselves because I made a super quick quack's probably more like it, super quick emotional decision. I now need you to do it too, because that validates my super quick, irrational, emotionally based decision. I need you to do it too. Because then if you take the time to be rational and you find something wrong with that decision, well, then I'm an idiot. And I don't want to be an idiot. So you do it too. We're all going to do it. At least we're all idiots together, right? We've all conformed to the idiocy together. Okay. Adric says, TMI just got an Amazon or just an Amazon notification. Grab it before it's gone. Oh my gosh, I don't want to check my Amazon. I was on Amazon earlier. It's probably telling me I have way too many things on my save for later. Okay, social proof. This is when we follow others' behaviors under the assumption that they somehow know better, right? They show fake reviews, testimonies, to becoming aware of the why, right? We trust others blindly allows us to critically assess the source of information. You guys have heard me say this before. Well, who told you that? And then do you trust their opinion? Would you ask them for advice? If you were having a problem, would you go to them? If their opinion doesn't matter, then their opinion doesn't matter, right? You should always think about, well, who told you that? And then do they benefit from keeping you in the dark or keeping you in tow or whatever it is they're trying to do? Do they benefit from that? Well, then maybe what they said was BS. Maybe they were indoctrinated with it too, and they just passed on the BS unbeknownst to them, right? So we have to question the legitimacy of social proof. When you do that, you reduce the power of the influence of social proofing, okay? The power of awareness. When we understand how the psychological tricks work, we activate the system 2 part of our brain, not the system 1 that's very instinctual and emotional. By giving it time and questioning things, we work into system 2 thinking, which is the slower, rational, critical thinking, right? The shift helps us to pause, scrutinize, and make better decisions. Scrutiny is important, right? Before you spend your money, before somebody talks you into spending your money, scrutinize your options. Before somebody talks you into voting a certain way, your vote is very important. Scrutinize. You should do that, right? There's an insight that I want to impart here. Like, awareness interrupts manipulation, right? Awareness interrupts manipulation. And then the very first thing you do is slow down. If it's not an emergency, you do not need to act like it's an emergency. I think about when I used to go out and play as a child, right? And you come back home because you fell and scraped your knee. And it was sort of like, are you on fire? No. Are you bleeding and the bleeding won't stop? Well, no. Is there a bone sticking out? No. Then go and play. Right? It's like, is anybody on fire? Is there a bone sticking out? Or is there bleeding that won't stop? Well, then it's not an emergency. You know what I mean? Is somebody standing on the edge of the bridge? That's an emergency, right? But all this other stuff is just to get you to act without thinking. It just is to get you to be emotional and make emotional, quick decisions without using critical thinking and scrutinizing what's going on. Okay. When we make emotional decisions, we get exploited every time, be it a scammer, politics, whatever, relationships, whatever. When we make a lot of decisions based solely in emotions or that initial gut instinct and what other people want, we open ourselves up. Okay. So we want to decrease our vulnerability, right? We want to be empowered to make informed and deliberate choices, which means you got to stop and think about it. You got to critically think. You got to look at it, look at the numbers, do the comparisons, think about this, think about that. Scrutinize all your options. Okay. I just remembered why Leon said that I had been hanging out with them too much, because the political debate was going on, and I said something about putting them both in Thunderdome and see who wins. And I reminded myself just by saying what I was saying. Okay. Leon says car salesmen are the funniest of simply anyone in sales. Well, yeah, I mean, honest is he's saying, not funniest. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, they're using sales tactics, which, I mean, yes, is a form of manipulation, but you can see how those kind of tactics get weaponized. Then we start moving into being scared. At least at the end of the day, with the car salesman, you get the car. You know what I mean? He doesn't bait and switch the car. This is the car you wanted. You have to agree to the pricing. But he's going to use sales tactics, right, to influence your decision. And it is a bit manipulative, but then we move into scamming and political, and, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and crazier, right? So psychological tricks, right? Scarcity, familiarity, reciprocity. So that's another one with politics too, is they make us feel like we owe them something, right? Like I have some sort of allegiance to vote for this person because it's part of some party that I may or may not be a member of. And so then somehow I owe you something because somehow you said you gave me something, even though I can't really see that you did anything for me, right? But that's that reciprocity, right? And then there are certain people who feel like they owe allegiance to political candidates, but the political candidates won't even say what they'll give them. It's just some sort of inherent allegiance that they never earned, right? So they influence our decisions. So scams, political promises, propaganda that's out there, rhetoric, it all manipulates those cognitive shortcuts and emotional triggers. So understanding those helps us to shift from those like impulsive, emotion-driven decisions to be more thoughtful and reasoned. We don't want to get swayed by empty promises, right? We don't want to be manipulated. Who wants to be manipulated? Especially when you find out more information later and you're just like, dang it. I wish I would have done something different. Thank you, Armando, for the Cash App. Appreciate it. Trying to get that book, guys. Trying to get that book that we can go over. I think it's going to be amazing. All right. Staying informed is your best defense, and slow down. Slow down, right? Okay, Adrian says, having seen the card thing from both sides, there's plenty of tricks being played in both sides of that relationship. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because going and buying, it's almost like it's a game now, right? When you go to buy a car, like I'm going to say this and they're going to do that. And then, people try to seem like they know what they're talking about. Okay, so coming up, shows that are coming up. So Wednesday, we will have Escaping Fear-Based Thinking. That's going to be a biggie. That kind of plays into this, right? But we're going to go a little deeper into fear-based thinking. The next Sunday is Breaking Free from the Illusion of Choice. Kind of, again, attached to this one. Like, we're going somewhere, guys. Then that following Wednesday, Pivot Point Wednesday, is 10 signs you have high spiritual intelligence. So that will bring us through September. Coming up in October, we're going to have things like the philosophy of absurdism, finding meaning in suffering, positive affirmations that men crave and need, and then the 3 most imperative things to figure out when you come out of the matrix. So all of those are coming up in October. Lots of good shows. I'm super excited about all of them. I'm working way ahead, even though I'm having a blast doing it. Okay. I appreciate everybody being here on this Sunday. And It looks like all the water has dried around here, so that's great. All right, if you guys can help me out, okay? If you've not liked the video already, if you didn't like it on the way in, would you please like it on the way out? And then the replay gang, please like the video. That helps me, all that interaction. Share this video with someone who needs to address their trusting nature, or these are the things that they say, or maybe they need a little bit of a different viewpoint on politics and what's going on right now. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. About 30% of the people who watch my videos have not subscribed. And as of right before this video, well, right before I spilled the water before this video, I had just 4 shy of 700 subscribers. So, man, 4 more today would just fix my Sunday, right? It would just, and then, I'm about 1,000 hours shy on watch time of having like super stickers and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool too. But so if you have not subscribed already and you've watched from the clouds and you like it, please hit subscribe. It is free, right? A lot of the content, well, most all of the content that I talk about is about being the real you, being authentically you. And these are all the tips and the tricks and the knowledge and the things that you need to know to be able to be the most authentic, transcended you that you can be. That's what my stuff is about. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. And if I don't see you this coming Wednesday on Pivot Point Wednesday for fear-based thinking, I hope I see you next Sunday. All right. Bye, guys.